Welcome into this edition of Huddle Up. I'm Leonidas Delyannis. Thank you all so much for listening so far. I know depending on where you're watching, this is either going to be episode 2 or episode 3. I had a little hiccup with the producing of it all, and for some reason, episode 2, when I plugged it into my Spotify for Creators, did not take it. Like, it would load all the way to 100%, and then it would just say failed. I did that about 5-6 times. And truthfully, I kind of got to the point where I gave up. If you watched on YouTube, this will be episode 3. If you tune on the Spotify or any of those other ones I have it uploaded on, it will just be looked at as episode 2. It is episode 3 for the record, but that's why I didn't actually have one posted on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and all the different platforms last week. But I wanted to jump straight in, and this week, Quinshon Judkins was just arrested. The Browns' second-round running back out of Ohio State. He was somebody who really was looked at as he's probably going to be that running back one for this team. Like, easy running back one, especially with everything happened with Nick Chubb. And he was arrested on domestic violence. And that's not something that they're going to take lightly. It's still really early on in the case, so we don't know what's going to happen with that. But I will say, weirdly enough, this is the second year in a row the Browns have had a second round pick out of Ohio State arrested for domestic violence. Last year, it was Michael Hall Jr., 2024. This year, Quinshon Judkins. And it's a terrible situation if it did happen. But this really throws a wrench in this Browns offense where they're still trying to figure out what the hell they're doing. You already have guys, like, you don't know what the hell is going to happen at the quarterback position. What's happening at that wide receiver position, the tight end position, the whole offense just seems to be in shambles. And the team, honestly, seems to be in shambles. But then here they all have their running back. Draft him in the second round for a reason. Gonna be a starter. Then this happens. Like, I would hate to be a Browns fan looking at it. Like, this is one of the few times really going into last year, this year, that I'm sitting there, I'm like, damn, it's great to be a Commanders fan. Like, I don't got to deal with this stuff anymore. But it really sucks for them. But moving off of the Browns, Bucks All-Pro tackle Tristan Wirfs Jr. just went to undergo an arthroscopic surgery in his right knee. He's one of the best left tackles in all of football. And really ever since his rookie year, where he was like an arguable top 3, maybe top 4 pick at the left tackle position. And he's been dealing with the knee injuries and knee problems for this offseason and stuff. But he just had to go through arthroscopic surgery. And he's going to start the year on the unable to perform list. Now, he can get elevated off of that, but they're now a Bucs team that's missing the all-pro, arguably second, third best tackle. Arguably, there's a world where you can have an argument that he's the best left tackle in football. And now they're starting the year off with him. But to get away from the injury and arrest and all that side of it, the 49ers, which seems like it is now an every single year type of thing, have yet another wide receiver who wants to get paid or get him the hell out of here. This time it's Jauan Jennings, though. I know in past seasons they've dealt it with Deebo Samuels, Brandon Ayuk, but it's Jauan Jennings this year. He has 1 year, $7.5 million left on his contract, and he's not a big name. He's nothing great, but this is also a team that Deebo had his problems last year. Brandon Ayuk went down for the season after they just paid him. Jauan Jennings was at wide receiver 1, and going into this year, he's going to be that wide receiver 1. Now, this isn't a contract that I think is going to be a lot of money. So this should be something that they're pretty easily able to figure out and make it not an issue. But he did come out today and say that if they do not sign him to a new deal, trade his ass immediately. And so it's expected by training camp, which is in about 2 weeks now, that we will know what's happening with him. But I don't expect this to be something that drags on because he's not somebody who's going to get paid a lot of money. Yes, they still got Ricky Pearsall, the first-round pick from last year. But that man got shot last year. Like, he genuinely got shot in the leg last year. And so they're trying to figure out what they really still have in him. You have Brandon Ayuk, who's out the whole season. Your defense lost a bunch of guys to really the Broncos. They kind of took everybody. And Brandon Ayuk has his Achilles or ACL, whatever it is. He's going to be out a large majority of the season. And now you factor in, you just paid Brock Purdy all this money. You silenced all the doubters on, is this your guy? Is this your guy? Is this your guy? You finally paid the man. Maybe you might want to lock up his receiver. Because right now, you already let Debo go. You still got Kittle and you have McCaffrey coming back from injury. But you don't know what McCaffrey's going to have still. Kittle's amazing. He's great. One of the best tight ends in the league. Will not say that he's not. But you still need a number one receiver. And if George Kittle is your number one receiver, I don't know about that. Now, Jawan Jennings is not a great number one receiver. I wouldn't even say he's a good number one receiver. He's still your number one receiver, though. And now your number one receiver, again, for what, the second, third year in a row, wants to get paid or out. And John Lynch and this team seems to be like, they're not afraid to pay the guys. They're not afraid to pay the guys. But it seems like every single year they deal with the same BS of another receiver coming in saying, pay me, trade me, I don't give a shit. I want to get paid one way or another. And so it kind of sucks to be them right now because they just put all this money into Purdy. And Jawan Jennings should be one that's an easy fix, but I feel like they're going to have to sit there and be like, do they really want to keep him? Is it worth paying him? I personally don't know why you wouldn't pay him. It's not going to cost you that much money. What are you going to make it? 2-year, $12 million? 2-year, $15 million? Like, you're fine. Like, you can pay him. They have the money to do that, but I just don't know if they're going to actually sit there and do it. Moving over to a different contract situation, it was announced today that Garrett Wilson did sign another extension to his rookie contract with the New York Jets. I think it was a 3-year, $130 million. He's now the highest guaranteed player under a certain age. I think it's age 30, if I'm not mistaken, at the receiver position. It's something like, it was a really good stat for him. I will say, though, that as a Commanders fan, I'm going to have to bring this in. And it does make the Terry McLaurin situation a lot harder. Because not on the fact of he's not going to get Garrett Wilson money. He's not. Wilson's way too young. Wilson's also better than him. We'll not say he's not. But what makes it difficult is the fact of you have to factor in the salary cap and the fact of the franchise tag. And these wide receiver deals are only going to go up. And before they could sit there and be like, all right, we can't get a deal done, I'll franchise tag you. Whatever. But the franchise tag, I think it's the top 10 paid at that position. It's the average of that for the 1-year deal. And then if you franchise tag somebody again, it goes up. I think it's like top 5. It's something weird where it constantly goes up and up and up. And so if they don't get this deal done soon and they have to franchise tag him, they're going to be paying a lot more than they would have had to versus just paying him. From everything I've read with Terry, it seems to be I don't think the money's where the problem is. I think it's the years and whether front loading it or not. From everything I've seen, it seems to be they might want a 2-year deal and Terry wants a 3-4-year deal. And I wish it was just the team wants 2, he wants 4, meet the middle, 3-year, keep the money, whatever. That doesn't seem to be the thing, though. And there's been reports constantly coming out that conversations have not been going good and they're not getting any better. So I'm hoping that's something that can clear up, especially because, first day of training camp, I'm going to, July 27th? That's 13 days from now. 13 days from now, and 2 Sundays is training camp start. And by that time, yes, the agent can still do all the stuff, but odds are they're not going to want to continuously do it. And then if you continuously push it back till start of the season, that's not getting done. And then we're going to be back in this again. And my thought process is I'd rather pay Terry now and wait to see what Debo has. And if Debo is good, because if Debo is good, you're going to want to re-sign him. And do you really want to deal with 2 different wide receivers you have to pay next year versus knocking one out now and dealing with Debo when you have to deal with Debo? You already restructured his contract, make him feel happy, whatever. You're not going to sign him before he plays a snap for the team, though. Like, we have to wait. And then if they just continuously push it down and down and down, we could very easily be in a situation where we got to pay Debo and Terry next year. We'll let one of them walk. And that's just going to be a killer for the team. But moving out of the money side of it all, ESPN just came out with a 4th annual execs, coaches, and scouts ranking of positions. And so today was Mondays, and it was the quarterbacks. And so this is one that a lot of people are going to be looking at either way. but they kind of started off, I don't want to say interesting, but the top four, you know, the top four is in no particular order. I'll go into the actual order later, but no particular order. It's always going to be Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Lamar. But so I'm personally a believer on, I don't give a living hell what Mahomes did last season. He's still QB1. And ESPN agrees with me. It was the ranking of the top four was Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. Now, given off of this year, I would have had it Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, Burrow. They switched Lamar and Burrow, whatever. 5's where they got it interesting, though. And as a Commanders fan, I love it because that's where I have him. They put my boy Jaden on it. And Jaden Daniels is number 5. And then they go Matt Stafford, Justin Herbert, Jared Goff, Jalen Hurts at 9. Baker Mayfield at 10. Hurts at 9. And that's something that's going to piss off pretty much every Eagles fan in the world. But at a certain point, if these are what the coaches, execs, and scouts all believe, maybe the fans just aren't right. Because they're the ones who have to game plan against him, deal with him. And if they sit there and be like, all right, you're good, you're fun, you're good, but it's a scheme thing, which I've been saying all along. I think he's a very good quarterback. I also believe the reason he's so good, though, is because he's in the perfect scheme and he has such a good team around him. And I know that comes off as me discrediting him and saying he's not good. He is good. He is a top 10 quarterback. But I've also gone so damn sick of Eagles fans trying to tell me how he's better than Jaden, how he's a top 4 quarterback. He's not. The top 4 is solidified, and there's nothing you can do about it. 5's where the real debate starts. I have Jaden at 5. If you were to tell me Stafford's 5, Herbert's one where I'm not a big Herbert guy, you could maybe talk me into it, and that would mean Jaden's 6. But still, I still think Jaden's better than that. Now, Goff over Hurts is something where I would rather, I think, have Hurts than Goff, especially when you see in the big-time moments and win the big-time games. It seems to be Goff crumbles, and I love Goff. Great guy. I've watched quarterback, seems to be a great guy. But in those big-time moments, he's just not the guy. And there's no other way to put it. And Hurts has been somebody who lives up to the moments. And he's there for a reason, and I think Hurts is better than Goff, but I do not completely hate it just being a flip-flop at that 8-9 position. There is one last thing, though, I wanted to talk about with the NFL, and it is ex-Lions quarterback and Vikings quarterback and NFL quarterback Teddy Bridgewater, who is the coach at a high school called Miami Northwestern, is now being suspended by the team for giving stuff to the players. And on the surface, that sounds really fucking bad. And it sounds like another one of these NIL things and all that. And I know it's the state of Florida where high school athletes are allowed to have NIL accounts and they're allowed to do all this stuff. But at the same time, this is a very different scenario. And what he was actually doing is using his own money to give his players who already go to the school food when they need food, Ubers to practice, recovery sessions. He was paying out of pocket. And it came out to be he spent over $70,000 out of his bank account to help these players and help these athletes and try to get them to have a better life. He was not trying to recruit players by saying, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. If that comes out, all right, it's a different scenario. But they're suspending him for this. All he was doing is helping the team. And you know the funniest part about it? He does not work for the school. He is a volunteer coach. They literally have zero ability to suspend him. In a Facebook post, he said, quote, the suspension came from Miami Northwestern, and it's impossible to suspend somebody who doesn't work for you. So if I'm suspended from Miami Northwestern, I'm free to go to another school of my choosing, and then in all caps, but I'm not going anywhere. And if it comes down to it, I will volunteer from the bleachers like I used to in 2018 and 2019 when no one had a problem. He did nothing wrong. He is using his money out of his own bank account to try to get these guys a better life. He wasn't taking school funds because that's how it was originally worded when I read the original article. They made it seem like he was using school funds and misallocating funds. No, he was using his own money to try to give these kids a better life for themselves. Uber rides to school, not to parties, to school. Recovery sessions for after practice, after games. He was buying kids who don't have food because they are growing teenagers who need to eat. He didn't do anything, and he's somebody who's been amazing for this program at the high school level and took them to state champs last year. He made them state champs. They went from like 2-8 to state fucking champs. And he has done everything in his power to build these kids up and make it as good as possible. And then now the school's going to try to suspend him when they can't even suspend him. He doesn't work for the school. I do not understand what possibly they thought would come out of this. And if they thought, oh, people will be on our side, but it's completely backfired. And now they just look like douchebags. And they look like terrible people because this is a kid. It was Uber rides, food, and recovery services going out of his way to try to help these kids have a better life and put them in positions, whether it's through football or academics, where they can get better in their life and succeed at a higher level. He wasn't allocating anything. All he was doing is literally using his own money to help these kids. And there's not too many coaches who do that. Like, there's not too many people in this world who go out of this way and spend $70,000 to try to help these kids. And I personally think it's absolutely embarrassing that Miami Northwestern would even come out and try to do this, because he also didn't break any rules. From everything I've read, he didn't technically break any rules against anything. It's all been a team violation, quote unquote, and they're not even allowed to suspend him. He doesn't work for the school. You cannot suspend somebody from the school unless they're going to ban him from everything, which they're not going to do. They're giving him a fake suspension. Well, truthfully, he could coach from the bleachers. Or if he wanted to, I don't think he will, he could go to the rival high school, and there's jack shit you can do about it. The district didn't suspend him. The league didn't suspend him. The state didn't suspend him. It was some BS team school suspension. Moving over to the NCAA, though, it was reported by Pete Thamel of ESPN that BYU quarterback Jake Retzlaff has officially withdrawn from BYU. And if you didn't know, I talked about it in episode 2, which now only people on YouTube saw, that he was accused of rape and sexual assault. He came out and said no. Him and his lawyers came out and said no, 100% consensual, 100% consensual. I did nothing wrong. Premarital sex is against the BYU honor code. So he was going to be suspended 7 games. The lady tried to take him to court. The court threw it out immediately and said this is not a real case. But so he is having to transfer. And there's been a bunch of potential schools that have been floated around. And they are Oklahoma State, Stanford, Notre Dame, Tulane, and Bama. Now I'll start at the top. Oklahoma State, I don't want to say I'd be too surprised, but truthfully, I wouldn't be surprised if he went there. Mike Gundy's somebody who has been one of the top college football coaches, really ever since he started at Oklahoma State. After, playing there for years. Ever since he got to Oklahoma State, he's been one of the top coaches, and they had one of their worst seasons ever. Literally in the past 30 years last year. And the quarterback position at Oklahoma State does not look good right now, so I wouldn't be surprised. But then you have Stanford, who, again, had guys leave. The transfers aren't looking that great. They just got a whole new bunch of money in. Andrew Luck's at the helm of that program, not as a coach, in the front office and all that. But then you have Notre Dame. And I think Notre Dame is the most intriguing one to me because this is a Notre Dame team that lost Riley Leonard to the NFL draft. I think he was a 5th-round pick to the Colts. Steve Aguilar, who was a backup quarterback, who did get some time, transferred to Syracuse, and now he's fighting with Ricky Collins for that starting job, which I personally think he's going to win. This is a team that was just in the national championship last year and now does not have a bona fide starter. They have transfers. And I do believe that if Jake Retzlaff comes in, he is an upgrade over them. Now, are they going to be willing to do it? I don't know. I don't know about Jake Retzlaff's financial situation because of how the transfer portal closed. He's going to have to be a walk-on at whatever team he's on. Notre Dame's expensive. I don't know. They'll figure it out. That kid definitely made enough money with NIL. But then you have schools like Tulane, who they lost their starter last year, Mensa, to Duke. He got a bag from Duke, went over there. The projected starter this year was somebody who's bounced around a lot, TJ Finley. Finley got arrested and then suspended and kicked off the team. So they, again, do not have a quarterback. This is one of the best group of 5 schools there is. It's like literally them, Liberty, or some of the best ones there is. Boise State, if you want to count them, whatever. But these are some of the best group of 5 schools there is. They have the money too. And this is a program that's a very good program. And if he decides to go there, that would be great. But my last one I wanted to talk about was Alabama. I think Alabama's at the very least one they're going to do. I know they lost Jalen Milroe, and whatever you think about Milroe, you think about Milroe. There's nothing really to help that, hurt that one. But I would be shocked if Kalen DeBoer decides that he's going to take Jake Retzlaff over, I think they have not, is it Saban? No, Saban was at Ohio State, but I'm blanking on the guy's name right now. He's a redshirt sophomore. He was like a top 5 recruit in the class. They have guys in that quarterback room. Ty Simpson's who they're starting. I'm sorry. I would be surprised if they take him over him. Now, I wouldn't hate it, but I do feel like in a team like Alabama, in the SEC, we have the spotlight on you 24/7, that it would be a very risky thing to come out and try to do right now and try to push him back in. I don't know. I personally believe Notre Dame would be the best fit, but I don't really know what he's going to do because he doesn't have that much time. Fall camp starts in a few weeks, and if he doesn't get it in by fall camp, he's not playing this year. And I don't know what teams he's reached out to him. I do not know those details, but he needs to figure this out soon, and I would not be surprised if within the next week or so that we find out where the hell this man is transferring. Next is the Netflix documentary. I don't know if you all have seen this, but Netflix, first of all, has been on an absolute grind, whether it's quarterback, the Formula One documentaries, but they're coming out with one that is Any Given Saturday, an SEC series. It's following around the entire SEC from last year and for college football. And I saw the trailer. I can't lie to you. I was absolutely hyped for it. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to watch that thing now. It premieres August 5th. And they'll follow around every single team from LSU and Brian Kelly and Garrett Nussmeier, which I can't wait to see how much of Kyron Lacey has really put in that, especially after his death. Bama, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida. DJ Lagway has a big part in it. This is going to be, I believe, the best documentary they've put out in a long time because the SEC football, it's just different down there. The small towns, they just care so much more. Then you have Texas also on top of it with Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers and that whole debacle. Are you kidding me? That is going to be so fun to watch. And I simply cannot wait till they get that going August 5th. Like, I'm going to be glued to my TV. Truthfully, probably watch every episode in that series from the time it starts. But speaking of SEC, it was reported today by an ex-Alabama quarterback that Nick Saban might be coming back. Now, it's not saying to Bama, but ex-Alabama quarterback Greg McElroy says he believes that Saban will come back. And he was told it from somebody who he says he trusts very much. Greg McElroy is somebody who he's an announcer for a few different college football games every year in the SEC. He also said this, though, on I think it was a Birmingham, Alabama sports radio show. And from everything I was reading, the potential landing spots that I could see off the top of my head was UNC, Texas Tech, Florida State, Michigan, and LSU. Now, I'll start off what I think is not going to happen. I do not think Michigan. I do not think UNC. I do not think they let Belichick do everything Belichick did to just go 1 year. And Belichick and Saban are so alike, where are you really going to kick out Belichick for somebody who's practically Belichick? Now, I get it. It's Nick Saban. Who the hell wouldn't want to play for Nick Saban? But it's also Belichick. They bent over backwards to try to get Belichick and to get him, and they've let him change that entire program, do whatever he wants with everything. Are they really going to fire him and then bring in somebody who's a carbon copy? At a different level, but still a carbon copy. And then Michigan. I know Harbaugh is suspended for the first few games of the season, or I think it's just the first game, because of the Connor Stallions and all that situation. Michigan's 2 years removed from the Natty, though. And they're on a, 4-5 game win streak against Ohio State? Like, this isn't a team that is in the dumps. This isn't Michigan before he got there. Like, Michigan is looking good. Especially, they just got Bryce Underwood, the number 1 recruit, and they just paid a freaking bag for him. What's it, $10 million? Like, there's no way they just move off of him. My biggest pick is Texas Tech. Texas Tech is a team that has shown through the NIL game that they got a buttload of money down there, and those boys are willing to use it, and they want to use it, and they will do anything to get football back. Especially in a Big 12 that, truthfully, seems pretty open right now. And there's no clear winner of it. You don't really know what's going to happen with it, especially with how college realignment goes. But if they can bring in somebody like Saban, you know recruits are flocking there. Florida State, I think that really depends on this year, especially because they were so disappointing 2 years ago. Oh, last year, I mean. After 2 years ago, almost making the college football playoffs, arguably should have been in there. But they just brought in Tommy Castellanos, the quarterback from Boston's college. They brought in a bunch of different guys, and you don't really know what's going to happen with them. And then LSU, I mean, that would be the funniest thing possible. He did start his career at LSU. Brian Kelly came in there most recently. He's a quarterback now. He's a coach now. And I mean, it seems to be when he left Notre Dame was finally able to make over the hump. And he was always saying, you can't win a natty there. You can't go to the natty there. Well, apparently they can. You're just not the guy. I don't know if they will move off of Brian Kelly right now. I think that's going to really depend on, this is a make or break season for him with Garrett Nussmeier. He's always someone who had Jaden Daniels. And I mean, you've seen what he turns into. And Jaden Daniels didn't do much with Brian Kelly at LSU. He didn't. It's as simple as that. He did not do anything. And so I don't know what's going to happen. I know Brian Kelly is on the hot seat, definitely. And I know LSU fans would take Saban any day of the week. I know would piss the living hell off of Bama fans, but you don't really know how that whole situation's going to go. I think it would be hilarious though. So, but in the end, my top pick definitely would be Texas Tech. I think when it comes down to the oil money they got, the amount of recruits are going, and how willing they are to do that NIL thing, that if Saban was to sit there and say, I want to be a coach again, because I do think he misses it. I think there was a lot of sides of it that he doesn't stand. I know he hates the NIL stuff. And that's one of the factors in why he left Bama and why he retired as a coach. But I think he still has that kick to him. I think he still has that itch in his body where he wants to be doing this again. And if Texas Tech can get him, massive for the program. That would be absolutely massive for the program. I don't really know what's going to happen with him. I think it would be hilarious if he went to an LSU, or if he went in the SEC in general, would be the funniest thing possible. And Bama fans would absolutely lose their shit. I know if he went to Michigan, all those Michigan State fans would be furious because he was at Michigan State, was not really great with him. He only had like 1 7-win season, nothing above. But I don't know. I just want to say thank you, though, for tuning in. This is, again, the 3rd episode of Huddle Up. I know it may say second on your screen, but it's the 3rd episode. Make sure to tune in on Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Podcast. iHeartRadio will be uploaded on there, and then also on YouTube. And then also make sure to check into my sports Instagram account at Leonidas Delyannis _sports and my TikTok at LH Delyannis. Thank you.